Hello and welcome to Bags of Action. My name's Steve and this is a 5-minute review of The Highwaymen from 2019. The film stars Kevin Costner and Woody Harrelson as two retired Texas Rangers who are put on the trail of Bonnie and Clyde during their rampage during the 1930s. I'm familiar with the name of Bonnie and Clyde, but I've never really known much about them other than that they were criminals. And this film, although it isn't a documentary, is based upon historic events, looking at the fact that, in a way, they've become a strange form of celebrities, despite the fact that they were criminals that went around killing people and robbing banks. What I found most interesting about this film from the beginning is that it explores their story, but we rarely see Bonnie and Clyde at all. It is told purely from the perspective of the two Texas Rangers who are on their trail. We barely see the faces of the actors portraying them until events towards the latter part of the film. All we know is what we've seen and what we've heard about their actions, dead bodies and people being shot, but the camera is always at a distance or always at a peculiar angle, so you can't actually see them. It's an interesting way of creating them as these mythical figures that aren't really real, and it was a nice trick by the director, John Lee Hancock. What I really liked about the two leads in this film is that they're both playing men who are past their prime, and they're probably playing characters closer to their own age. Both characters have seen better days. They're long past their prime, and they're no longer the crack shot that they used to be, or as fast or as strong. Technology is taking over because we see this with some of the other policemen who are on the trail, and they're very much relics from the past who people think should step aside and let others take charge of the investigation. The problem is that Bonnie and Clyde have been on a rampage for a couple of years, so in desperation, the governor of Texas, who's played by Kathy Bates, green lights them to go back on the trail to try and bring these two criminals to justice. Kevin Costner has played some weird characters over the years, but in this role, there's something really quite interesting because there's a great weight to his performance. There's one scene where Woody Harrelson's character, Maney Gaunt, tells a story about his friend, Frank Hamer, and about one of their glory days. And someone's desperate for the story, and I think it's going to be really interesting and positive and uplifting. But as the story unfolds, you realise that it's both tragic and horrific and has scarred both of them. And despite the other people viewing it as something that was wonderful, both men are continually haunted by the events of the past and what they've done. So there's this interesting running commentary on celebrities, both those in the public eye at the moment with Bonnie and Clyde and also these two relics from the past. The film is quite a slow burn, but when there is action, it's quite exciting and dramatic and you don't really know what's going to happen. On the surface, this film couldn't just be seen as two Texas Rangers going after some criminals. But the more time I spent thinking about it, I realised that there was a commentary on modern day as well, looking at things like celebrity and the way that there's this frenzy whenever Bonnie and Clyde turned up, that people were swarming their cars wanting to get autographs or some personal memorabilia to take away. And even though I knew how the story of Bonnie and Clyde concluded, I didn't know how it was done, so that was a nice surprise for me. And there again, there was this strange feeding frenzy where people were desperately clawing at their bodies trying to take away something. And at first I thought, oh, that's just been exaggerated for the film, but it turned out it was true. It also turns out that Bonnie and Clyde's car was on the road for many years after they died as a tourist attraction, which seems particularly grotesque and gruesome to me, but it was very popular for decades. At one point, this film was going to be starring Paul Newman and Robert Redford as the two retired agents, and it's gone round and around before eventually coming back to Woody Harrelson and Kevin Costner, but I think they both did exceptionally well in the leads, and their performances were very solid. I'll be honest, I wasn't really sure what I was going to make of this film when I first started watching it. By the end, I was really interested in not only the story of Bonnie and Clyde, but also the people that were on their trail. There wasn't anything about this film that I didn't like. The acting was great, the score was interesting but understated, so it didn't distract you from what was going on screen. The cast was brilliant, the clothing and attention to detail to all of the period stuff was excellent, so I'm going to have to give it 5 bags out of 5. Have you seen The Highwaymen? Get in touch with us and let us know via Twitter, Facebook, or leave us a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe and like the channel.